and you live as you've never lived before. Softly and deftly, music shall caress you. Hear it, feel it, secretly possess you. Open up your mind, let your fantasies unwind in this darkness which you know you cannot fight. The darkness of the music of the night. Let your mind start a journey to a strange new world. Evil thoughts of the world you knew before. Let your soul take you where you long to be. Only then can you belong to me. Floating, falling, sweet intoxication. Touch me, trust me, savor sensation. Let the dream begin, let your darkness slide in to the power of the music that I write. The power of the music of
Welcome back to Sydney. It's amazing to think Phantom been running on West End for about 35 years. It's the longest running show on Broadway. What was your first experience with the show, and how did it inspire you guys?
Well, my first experience of the show is sort of twofold. One was listening to Anthony Warlow sing Music of the Night on the Best of Act 1 CD, circa 2002. And then shortly after that, I got a video, a VHS, God, I'm showing my age, of Hey Mr. Producer, a tribute to Cameron McIntosh. And that had like a series of different, numbers from different shows. And Com Wilkinson played Jean Valjean and in Les Mis and The Phantom. And it was I was just so thrilled by it all, so moved. And it's sort of my first foray into musical theatre. And I was like, okay, I have to do that with my life at some point. So that's my origins. It's 20 years since I first came across it.
How about you, Amy?
I have a really weird story about how I first got introduced to Phantom. So when I moved to London when I was 21, the first night I was there, I went and saw Phantom with my mum, and we looked at the program, and the Christine was a gorgeous actress called Harriet Jones, and she was studying at the Royal College of Music, and I was starting there the next day, and I loved it so much, but obviously I had to focus on my studies. And then 2 years later, on the exact cast change, I took over her role in Phantom. So it's really weird that it was the first thing I saw when I first moved to London, and then just kind of all of a sudden had my West End debut after I graduated, which was just absolutely insane. So it's been like a really dream journey for me.
So you are part of that, well, we're both a part of that 35-year history of the production of West End, which is really really cool to be like a tiny little etching in that giant, history. Yeah.
There's something particularly majestic and cinematic about the Andrew Lloyd Webber score. So many wonderful songs. What are your favourites to perform? And also, do you find any particularly emotionally challenging?
Challenging is an interesting word. It's more that it's an emotional roller coaster, and as Phantom, I just have to sort of surrender over to that and be vulnerable enough to give my heart and give my soul to the piece. And you sort of feel like, midway through Act 2, I sort of just, in a way, press play and allow it all to happen rather than, policing my performance or judging as I'm going. I'm just sort of just open to accept what happens, what Amy and Blake give me, and how I can bounce off that. And so that's sort of leading towards the final layer, which is the final number of the show. And other than Music of the Night, which is obviously a favourite and a crowd favourite, the final layer is just such a special moment in the show, and it's equal parts demanding and cathartic, I'd say.
Amy, I am going to opening night tomorrow, but couldn't resist. I had to see one of the previews. I find it intriguing the way you perform. It's quite mesmerising in a way. It's like you emanate this kind of aura on stage, and then it's kind of like you're just transported into a place. Do you have a kind of emotional preparation for that? Is it just something that's in the moment, or is it something that you have to do prior to going on stage?
I mean, Christine's a really demanding role, both vocally and physically, and it's all about her journey from a young girl to a strong woman, and she starts off as a ballet dancer, and vocally she has to kind of have this sweetness, but then as she grows throughout the show, she brings fullness and warmth to her voice, and that also goes for the character of Christine as well. And so it is quite difficult to end the show in this place, but then go back to the beautiful little ingenue. Yeah. So it's difficult doing a double show on those days where you end in this place and then have to go back at the start. But thank you very much.
Yeah. With your operatic training, like with the Royal College of Music, are you, with a role like this, does it give you the creative freedom to kind of test that vocal range, go into the coloratura and kind of that lyrical range?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, people always think Christine's a really, really high sung role, but it's really low as well. So it's a soprano's full vocal range, and she needs to belt and sing high and mix, and so the operatic training has 100% helped with that. Classical technique helps with every sort of singing, and it's really great to be able to use a mic and try out different things with my voice. Go really soft and really loud. It's amazing.
Well, Josh, last time I saw you was pretty much outside on the Opera House steps singing Nessun Dorma. Now, since then, Lloyd Webber and Cameron McIntosh have given you pretty much the keys to the dungeon of this Opera House. But I know that you both performed on West End. It was the Hal Prince kind of production. This is the Lawrence Connor one. Have you found that difference, and what's made that Lawrence Connor version a bit more suitable for kind of this time?
Well, the Lawrence Connor version I find far more filmic. It's more visceral, and I think it grabs into the heart and souls of the audience members in a really specific and detailed way, because the lens is so zoomed in on the action in this one, whereas the Hal Prince one, as stunning as it is, it has that sort of majesty and regality and that old Victoriana look. So you're sort of looking at it from a sort of more wider lens. So I think audiences really feel what's happening to the characters in this a lot more, and there's that naturalism really shines.
But the story is a lot more clear in this.
And I think the story is definitely clearer too. As the Phantom, I certainly feel the omnipresence of him moves from sort of a spiritual version to a really on the ground. He's there trying to do everything he can to lure Christine and win Christine. And so you see him kill, and you see him as a stagehand trying to be a part of every little bit of action, to hear and see what's going on in the Paris Opera House. So I love that, and I think for me the journey of his first entrance in the mirror to the journey right at the end, it's so much more of a roller coaster. It's far more physical, and I feel at the end like it's
very physical.
I'm like cooked at the end of it. So
cooked. That is a good.
Yeah.
Good
Put a fork in me.
that.
That's right, yeah.
Unfortunately, I kind of have to wrap up, but I do know just with that quite an empowering version, especially with the final lair scene and how that kind of resolution happens, especially with Roll and Phantom using violence, but you're using, Christine's using that love and that expression to resolve it. Has that kind of been fulfilling, I guess?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been hugely fulfilling, and it's been just gorgeous to play Christine in this production. And like Josh said, it's incredibly physical and emotional, and I think the ending just means so much more in this production. And it's a lovely ending.